Hello and welcome to Renewed by Faith, where we are taking a deep dive into the book of Job. In this video, we are reading through chapter 21, which is Job's response to Zophar, his buddy, who in chapter 20 was getting kind of agitated with Job and his words. In chapter 20, Zophar said, "My troubled thoughts prompt me to answer because I'm greatly disturbed. I hear a rebuke that dishonors me, and my understanding inspires me to reply." So he felt rebuked by Job and wanted to snap back, basically. So he says, though the pride of the godless person reaches the heavens and his head touches the clouds, he will perish forever like his own dung. And then he goes on to say, though evil is sweet in his mouth and he hides it under his tongue, though he cannot bear to let it go and lets it linger in his mouth. So calling Job out, saying that he's prideful and wicked and evil. And then goes on to say his prosperity will not endure. And when he has filled his belly, God will vent his burning anger against him. And a fire unfanned will consume him and devour what's left in his tent. The heavens will expose his guilt. The earth will rise up against him. A flood will carry off his house, rushing waters on the day of God's wrath. Such is the fate God allows the wicked, the heritage appointed for them by God. So again, just stating that he is agitated with Job. He is blaming Job for his situation and talking about, the wicked and the evil as if it is directed at Job. So let's read in chapter 21, again in the NIV version, what Job has to say to Zophar. He says, "Listen carefully to my words. Let this be the consolation you give me. Bear with me while I speak, and after I have spoken, mock on. It is my complaint directed to a human being? Why should I not be impatient? Look at me and be appalled. Clap your hand over your mouth. When I think about this, I am terrified. Trembling seizes my body. Why do the wicked live on, growing old and increasing in power? They see their children established around them, their offspring before their eyes. Their homes are safe and free from fear. The rod of God is not on them. Their bulls never fail to breed. Their cows calve and do not miscarry. They send forth their children as a flock. Their little ones dance about. They sing to the music of timbrel and lyre. They make merry to the sound of the pipe. They spend their years in prosperity and go down to the grave in peace. Yet they say to God, leave us alone. We have no desire to know your ways. Who's the Almighty that we should serve him? What would we gain by praying to him? But their prosperity is not in their own hands. So I stand aloof from the plans of the wicked. Yet how often is the lamp of the wicked snuffed out? How often does calamity come upon them, the fate God allots in his anger? How often are they like straw before the wind, like chaff swept away by a gale? It is said, God stores up the punishment of the wicked for their children. Let him repay the wicked so that they themselves will experience it. Let their own eyes see their destruction. Let them drink the cup of the wrath of the Almighty. For what do they care about the families they leave behind when their allotted months come to an end? Can anyone teach knowledge to God, since he judges even the highest? One person dies in full vigor, completely secure and at ease, well nourished in body, rich, bones rich with marrow. Another dies in bitterness of soul, never having enjoyed anything good. Side by side they lie in the dust, and worms cover them both. I know full well what you're thinking, the schemes by which you would wrong me. You say, where now is the house of the great, the tents where the wicked lived? Have you never questioned those who travel? Have you paid no regard to their accounts? That the wicked are spared from the day of calamity, that they are delivered from the day of wrath. Who denounces their conduct to their face? Who repays them for what they have done? They are carried to the grave, and watch is kept over their tombs. The soil in the valley is sweet to them. Everyone follows after them. and a countless throng goes before them. So how can you console me with your nonsense? Nothing is left of your answers but falsehood. So Job is, first of all, starting off by saying, let me have a chance to speak, right? Your words have not been comforting, right? And he says, bear with me while I speak, and then continue to mock me afterwards, right? All you're doing is mocking me and saying bad things about me, but let me state my case. But then he goes on to say, is his complaint directed to a human? No, he's really complaining about God, right? Striking him. And so he's like, why are you coming at me with this? I'm not blaming you for my situation. I'm blaming God. And he said, why should I not be impatient? And then he goes on to talk about how often is the lamp of the wicked snuffed out. So he's he's feeling like he is in a position where God has stricken him, yet he believes he's upright and blameless. And so and who wouldn't in Job's situation, right? Put yourself in Job's shoes. I'm putting myself in Job's shoes, and I have had everything stripped from me. I am miserable. I'm blaming God. And then I'm over there and I'm looking at so and so, and they are high on their hog, and they have an amazing mansion and wealth, and their children, and they're healthy, and they say things like, why would we pray to God? Why would we know God? They say to God, leave us alone. We have no desire to know your ways. Who's the Almighty that we would serve him? What would we gain by praying to him? But their prosperity is not in their own hands, he says. So I stand aloof from the plans of the wicked. So he's starting to think about, like, why am I in this position and they're in that position? Who hasn't had that thought? I know I have had that thought many times. Why is this happening to me? Although Jesus promises there will be trials and tribulations in this life, it's still, when you're going through the thick of it, you want to lash out, and then you want to wonder why those who don't even believe are prospering, right? But we have to remember they're prospering in this world. God's kingdom is an upside down kingdom. We will prosper in his kingdom. And regardless what happens in this world, this is not where we belong. So those who prosper in this world, that might be the only time that they prosper. Just a thought. Anyway, so he says, can anyone teach knowledge to God, since he judges even the highest? So even though he's questioning God, he's questioning why things happen, or why things don't happen to the wicked. He's saying, how can I can't teach God what to do, what's right and wrong, right? And then he pushes back against the friends, and he says, like, where now is the house of the great, the tent? You say, where now is the house of the great, the tents where the wicked live, that the wicked are spared from the day of calamity? And again, he's just kind of pushing back, like, you're calling me wicked. I'm over there looking at other wicked people. They're prospering. Here I am having everything taken from me. And then he ends the chapter saying, how can you console me with your nonsense? Like, everything you're saying, it means nothing. You don't know what you're talking about. You're not me. You're not in my shoes. You don't know what I'm going through. You're saying that I'm at fault for everything that I'm experiencing. That's nonsense. And then he says, nothing is left of your answers but falsehood. Everything you're saying is incorrect. I know that if I was Job, I would be having so many of the same thoughts. I would be questioning my friends and their friendship. I would be questioning God and why it's happening to me, and while other people are prospering and they don't even know God. And I can really relate to Job in this chapter. In the next chapter, we're going to hear from Eliphaz, and it's going to continue this back and forth. And we're going to see progressive anger and frustration back and forth as they continue back and forth. And again, put yourself in this situation. If you were with your friends, you were going through this, they kept coming at you with all these things, you kept going back and forth. I think that most people would struggle with the frustration as Job does. And but we'll see. Does it really solve anything? The back and forth. Somebody has to zip it at some point. So we'll see what happens. Thank you so much for joining me. This was chapter 21. Next time we will look at chapter 22. I really appreciate you joining me in this journey through my favorite book of the Bible, the book of Job. And we will continue to read on and look for what I believe is the true reason for Job's suffering. And I appreciate you. I pray blessings over you. Thank you so much for joining in. Have a fabulous day. God bless.